I'm Sara-Mae Tuson. I'm here at the Poetry Cafe. We're about to do a wonderful performance in association with Literature Lounge to launch New Trespass magazine, which is going online, and you can get it at exacteditions.com. So do look that up. Mario's work is in there as well. Mario is a very well-regarded poet, teacher, writer of all sorts. He's won numerous awards, which I'm not going to embarrass him by going into. And I'm here to ask him a few questions. Mario, the theme of the issue that we just did was justice and the arts. Do you have any thoughts about the relationship between the two?
It's very complex, isn't it? Because on the surface of it, it wouldn't seem that the arts have a great deal to say about injustice other than to protest it and to give the narratives of it. But I think there is a lot that art can do, in particular poetry, when it is able to speak about injustice and our condition, our modern condition, in ways that other more prosaic forms can't, whether it's rhetoric or documentary. And I think that's where poetry in particular comes into its own. It can find a mode of words, a pattern of speech that can communicate something and make it felt in a way that a prosaic documentary won't.
That's kind of what Les Murray was talking about recently in an article he wrote in defense of poetry. He was kind of trying to espouse why poetry is essential to this sort of human condition and how there's different kinds of thought, one of which is more poetic and the other is more sort of tied to critical thinking or almost like a scientific kind of thinking.
Les Murray also said, I think, that poetry manages to maintain the absolute centrality of absolutely everywhere. Something like that. Which is a hugely political comment to make about egalitarianism and our focus. And if you look at our contemporary focus as a culture, it's not egalitarian. We do give much greater value to certain things, economics and so on, over others. So although I said earlier that documentary may not move us in the same way as art can sometimes, documentary is of course important, but it's that kind of transformative capacity that art has, which has a plural gaze. You needn't look at just one thing and make that clear. It can make many things clear simultaneously, and it can complicate what seems to be simple and obvious and something we take for granted into something that will really challenge our core beliefs. That's where art can excel.
And do you think by doing that it sort of upholds justice or reveals injustices, things like that?
Yes, just as free speech is profoundly radical and all about justice ultimately, but may not be about any particular issue at any one particular time. So I think arts, when they're fully healthy and they're not coerced or co-opted, they too can create a fundamental liberation of the imagination of our cognition, our sense of who we are, our sense of self, and our sense of connection, and that's the political aspect, what we connect to and how we connect to one another, to our environment and so on. That's where the arts, again, pull together, or can do, if they're not corrupt, can pull together and make something happen that politics and economics even can't make happen.
So do you think that all these arts cuts and things, like with Ennio Tharman having its funding removed, I think that is kind of a very unhealthy thing for the government to be doing in that sense, because in a way it's...
Yes, very political to comment on that. Obviously, but I will. I mean, it does strike home to hear that Ennio Tharman has lost its funding. Home in that sense of the word that ecology is derived from. Ecology, I believe, I hope I haven't got this wrong, is derived from the word for home. Now, if that's the case, what kind of ecology, what kind of home are we creating for the arts by eliminating its more fundamental diversity? And if you like, it's a horrible term to use, the capital of the arts, things that have been built up over time and that have established themselves and grown into, from the saplings to the wooded forest, where now you bear fruit and you have the diversity of creatures, I would be one of them, roaming through these woods, and then it's cleared. That doesn't mean something can't grow in its place. But one can mourn that and also be concerned about a culture which doesn't fight for it. It doesn't seem that we're quite able or willing to fight for it in the way that we might.
Yeah.
I know that some people are fighting vociferously and strenuously to preserve some aspects that they feel have been unjustly removed. But as a culture, outside here, the general population, how concerned are they about that?
Yeah.
Good question.
So, what is it about science that kind of inspires you?
Well, I'm a physicist. I trained as a physicist, then retrained as an ecologist. So it's in my blood, it's in my cognitive DNA. You can't avoid your past. And whatever's informed you, whatever's inspired you, I found physics profoundly inspiring at school and college, is going to be part of how you see. It's going to be a pair of spectacles through which you see things, or if you like, a filter that will allow certain things through more prominently than others. I would also think the language of science has been crucial for me. There's a quite famous hypothesis, which I'll talk about in the reading, the Sapir-Whorf hypothesis in linguistics, which, hugely simplified, says the kinds of codes and patterns of a language we use will partly determine how we can think, and what we think about, and how we think it through. And if you're trained as a scientist, you will train yourself and be taught to think through things in a certain way, a way that's rigorous, analytic, precise, and that will inform the way I think you see things thereafter.
Right. So you use quite a lot of biographical things, like your sort of Catholicism as well, that comes into a lot of your work.
Yes.
How important do you think the truth is to poetry?
Well, that's a very difficult question because I can't speak for all poets. I think on the contemporary scene, it's not always about truth. It's about sensation, it's about confession, personal experience, it's about virtuosity, it may even be about an attempt to gain fame or prominence or dominance. There will be all those factors. There will also be beauty, all kinds of things mixed in. For me, truth, it has to be ultimately the only thing that concerns poetry, the truth of the experience as it's lived in the moment of writing the poem. The truth with all its ugliness and beauty, with all its difficulty, complexity, the plurality of it, as you receive it. And what you do to that in the process of writing a poem, how the process of constellating language into a poem modulates and reflects and enhances and contributes to that truth, makes it real, gives it a form, as the objectivist poets would have said in America, gives it a real, tangible form. Letters, words on a page that you can't argue with. It's there, it exists as an artifact.
And how do you identify these little nuggets of truth then?
I don't know if you identify them. I think they grow into you and emerge in the process of writing a poem. That's where I think science and poetry don't always agree. As a scientist, you have an idea of what you're trying to prove, and you perform an experiment that will either prove it or disprove it. Some people write poetry like that. It's very post hoc. So I had the experience, can I find the form of words that will reflect it truthfully? I'm less interested in that kind of writing now than I was 10 or even 6 years ago. I'm more interested in language evolving through me and saying something that I didn't expect it to say at the outset. This is Jack Spicer, the idea of the dictated poem that arrives and like an unexpected guest, and you don't know what it's going to say, but you are very much involved in that. You're not passive, it's completely active. So it's then a dialogue, it's a kind of collaboration between language and yourself to generate something real, truthful, difficult, easy, marvellous, worrying, whatever it wants to be. So I don't always now go to my desk with an idea of what the poem will be. There may be a memory, there may be a spark, yes, but I will let the poem emerge as it wishes.
Right.
And that gives it freedom. There's your justice as a writer, to enact justice in the writing of a poem is to let the poem say what it wants to say.
And not try and force it too much down to the channel.
Package it.
Yeah, because some people might feel, that they have to write a poem a certain way in order to be well received, for example. performance poetry.
Where did they get that from? Where has that set of values come from? How's it been engendered? And if poetry isn't challenging those values, I mean, look at that culturally, right across the spectrum, to do with politics, justice and so on, but right down to how the mind works, how the emotions work. Who informed me to think this way, to feel this way? And is this poem liberating me from that, or actually ensconcing it, making it more ingrained in me? We're very close to the 25th anniversary of Chernobyl.
Yes.
So I'll read one from the book Heavy Water.
So before you do that, because that does tie in with certain events that happened recently with Japan and the tsunami and the kind of nuclear upheaval that led to, did that have any? Did that remind you of that piece? That was.
Oh, very much.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, it's not an identical phenomenon, what's happening in Japan now, to what happened in Chernobyl. It's different in many ways, but there are also profound similarities. People not quite knowing what's going on, not being sure of the impact on them of the radiation they've been exposed to. Very difficult for them out. This is a positive piece, actually, about how can you be positive about radiation exposure? Well, the human spirit can transcend that. And this piece is about a woman remembering falling in love about the time the explosion occurred in Chernobyl in 1986. And she recalls it, there's an edge to it, but she recalls it with love and gratitude. And there's the human spirit for you. One word. There was life, a life before. A girl of 16, a rigger of 24, meeting for cakes and nothing else. A girl who made herself late just to see what a handsome man waited for her. After work, beneath the clock, close by the post office, Volodarsky Street. And that night, they shared champagne and madeleines under stars in Gorky Park, until their hands gravitated, and both dared whisper, yes. Yes, they said, then touched lips as though it were some law of physics. 1 year together, before finally they kissed, and nothing more. Who would believe it? Who would change a breath of it, even if a voice of doom boomed in from the planet?